Hey guys, we are back with some more New Jersey Devils franchise mode, and as you can see, we just barely missed the playoffs. Not even by 1 point, really by half a point, because the Senators beat us in regulation plus overtime wins for the second wildcard spot. Now, obviously, we didn't have the greatest season, 38, 37, and 7. However, I do have a few optimisms about this team, and the first one is that our new head coach in Edward Potter, he's got A-pluses basically across the board other than coach influence, and he was above a 500 winning percentage last season, something that Patrick Marleau could not achieve, unfortunately. And another optimism, Mikhail Rutsidis, our rookie defenseman who we drafted last year, he had an absolutely stellar season in the DEL last season. I believe it was around 54 points that he had in 40-something games. He is an absolute stud. Yeah, in 45 games, he had 51 points. He's already a top 4 defenseman. He's looking like he's going to be fantastic. Hopefully he fits in with our defensive chemistry, which is a good segue into my next talking point, is that we have some good chemistry on defense. And, we had a pairs of Carlson and Slavin, Fabro and Nurse, and then Severson and Lankow. All those pairs brought a +3 chemistry to the lineup. So I would have to guess that was part of the reason why we had a winning record after hiring our new head coach. And we do have to find some new chemistry at forward, I believe, as we could only find one +3 line, and we could find a +3 power play line, but not much beyond that. Another reason for optimism is that we have the 10th best odds at the lottery pick. Now, remember, we did trade a first for Erik Karlsson last year. However, it was not this year's first, and thank goodness it wasn't. Now, this year, that means this year is the big year because, number one, we've missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. We also traded next year's not first overall pick, but next year's first round pick. Well, I mean, it could be a first overall pick if we do end up missing the playoffs again. However, if we miss the playoffs 3 seasons in a row, I think at that point I would have to resign or fire myself or something because I just wouldn't know what to do at that point. The only reason I could think that we would even be able to miss the playoffs next season is if our goaltending doesn't go to plan as usual. Because Caleb Wingels had an .889 save percentage, unfortunately, this year, and Grubauer had a .903, and it looks like Grubauer is going to be getting released. He's got that fringe starter potential, I believe, and he also does not want to re-sign. He's making $5 million currently. We can't afford that because Caleb Wingels, he also wants a big contract. Now, with a big contract comes big responsibility for Caleb Wingels. This is the year that he has to prove himself that he is worthy of being a starting goaltender in the NHL. So we will sign him right now to a 2-year extension, and we will give him, I'm going to start out with 5.1 for 2 years. And on defense, we do have Carlson and Slavin to re-sign, which we definitely will. So Carlson, he wants 6.9. He's currently making 8.5, so that is definitely a nice cap relief right there. We will try to get him down to 6.4 for 1 year. And as for Slavin, he's currently making 6.4. He wants 6.1 for 4 years. What if we take him to 1 year? Only 6.1. So if we try to take him down to 5.9, I'm not going to take him down as much as we did with Carlson, just because we're taking him down in years, since he is 32 years of age. Actually, no, we'll give him 2 years. I don't have a problem with giving Slavin 2. Well, actually, he does have that top 6 defenseman potential. Yeah, you know what? We'll give him 1 year. Never mind. We will give him 1 year for 5.9. I don't believe there are actually any forwards that we have to sign. Well, there's Sissons, but he did not have the greatest year this year, even defensively, which was the main reason why we signed him. He had 16 points, and I'm fine with that for the fourth line as long as you're producing defensively, but Sissons was not. His takeaways to giveaways were brutal, 20 to 37, and he only had 58 hits. He wasn't winning faceoffs either when he was taking them, so we are going to be releasing Sissons. Now, as for Zacha, he actually only wants 1.3, so that's also a significant salary cap cut, and he was physical last year, 75 hits. He wasn't the greatest with the takeaway to giveaway ratio. Then again, he really has never been, but at least he was winning faceoffs. He was being physical, so I would not mind re-signing Zacha, but that being said, I'm going to hold off on him for right now. And there you go. There is Slavin. He is back for another season, as is Erik Karlsson, as is Caleb Wingles. And the Florida Panthers have fired head coach Brian Lutz. And the Stanley Cup champions are the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Calder Cup goes to the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. So let's check out the awards. With all of that being done, the Stanley Cup, of course, goes to Pittsburgh, and they also won the President's Trophy. And the Clarence Campbell goes to Vancouver, so it was Pittsburgh versus Vancouver in the final. The Art Ross goes to Kucherov. The Hart goes to Cahoon. The Norris goes to Riley. The Lady Byng also goes to Cahoon. The Calder goes to Pajärvi on the Sabres. The Conn Smythe goes to Cahoon. The Vezina goes to Shesterkin. The Jennings also goes to Shesterkin. The Bill Masterton goes to Brendan Dillon. The Jack Adams goes to Finnerty on St. Louis. The Selke goes to Barkov for his second year in a row. The Lindsay goes to Cahoon. The Maurice Richard goes to Austin Matthews, so no longer Cole Caulfield, or at least not for this year. And what we will do real quick, we'll check out the league leaders. Nikita Kucherov with 101 points, Cahoon with 101 as well, Marchessault with 100, Laine with 99, Sagan with 98, Matthews, Newhook, Eichel, DeBrincat, McDavid, Visakis, Svechnikov, Point, Gensel, Scheifele, Tarasenko, Caulfield, Pajärvi, Reinhart, Boldy, Keller, Radulov, Athanasu. Looks like offenses around the league are tearing it up, and look at that, Austin Matthews with that 60-goal season. My goodness, I do not believe there has been a 60-goal season in the NHL since Steven Stamkos back in, 2011, 2012? Yeah, a lot of competition for Cole Caulfield this year. There were several 50-goal scorers: Bellemare, Laine, Sagan, Tarasenko, and Reagan as well. And then Caulfield, of course. Looks like goal scoring has definitely picked up around the league. And as for goaltenders, this should be interesting. So for a minimum of, let's say, 30 games, just so we could sort out all the backups, Shesterkin had the highest save percentage by far in the league, 916 save percentage. Then it drops immediately down to Gibson with a 910, then Nielsen with a 908, 907 for Gustafsson and Knight, 906 for Peterson, 905 for Demko, 924 for Binnington, who for some reason is, he's below all these guys, but he played 70 games and had a 924 save percentage. Okay. Sure. Para, Samsonov, Subban, Saros, Grubauer. But as you take a look down here, there's also several guys who were below 900, so that proves as to how much scoring has actually gone up in the league. And the draft lottery, the New York Islanders have won it, and Boston, and then Carolina, and then Detroit, Nashville, Florida, Washington, Dallas, Philadelphia, your New Jersey Devils at number 10, Vegas, Arizona, Winnipeg, Minnesota, and San Jose. So one guy who I think we need to consider moving out would be Caden Lankow. He didn't grow at all over this season. He's 21 years of age now, still a 79 overall. He really did not have the greatest season. 11 points, -4. He didn't take a whole lot of shots, I don't believe. Yeah, he had 71 shots. He doesn't hit. He had 23 hits. He had a lot of giveaways. I think it might be time to put him on the block because we do have his replacement in Mikhail Rotsidis coming up very soon, as he finished with 50 games played, 57 points in a men's league. And obviously that is a 40-point difference from last year. He is looking insane. So we definitely need to give him every opportunity possible to work his way up our lineup. So with that being said, I don't want to have Lankow as a 7th defenseman because I just don't want to have a young guy as a 7th defenseman. That wouldn't be fair to him, especially after already being in the lineup for a full year and then just being taken out and probably never playing again. So what we're going to do on the draft day, we are going to put him on the block and see what offers we can get for him. And retirements, you have Ovechkin, who passed not only Wayne Gretzky's record, but passed 1,000 goals in the NHL. Oh my goodness, an absolute legend right here. Finished at a 77 overall, still a third-line scorer. Scored 36 goals in his final NHL season. My goodness, what a beast. Absolute beast. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. I mean, absolute legend. 1,000 goals. That is insane. Gino also retires. Taves. Stamkos. Speaking of Stamkos in his 60-goal season. Backstrom retires. So Backstrom and Ovi retiring in the exact same year. Giroux O'Reilly, Pacioretty, Doughty, Hedman, Bailey, Hoffman, Howla, Smith, Nyquist, Turris, Johnson, Gagne, Coyle, Eller, Brody, Chason, Muzzin, Spurgeon, Panic, Kreider, Fast, Gardner, Cizikas, Vatanen, Connolly, and then in goal, Bishop, Jones, Markstrom, and Bernier, all retiring as well. And the following players are now coaches: Drew Doughty, Victor Hedman, Nicholas Backstrom, and Alex Ovechkin. And did we have any retirements? Yes, we did. Kurt Fair retired. I believe he is our assistant coach. So we're going to have to find a new assistant coach, unfortunately. So we are picking at number 10, and at that point, there should be Chubasov available. There is Holmstrom, who is 2 years away from the NHL. He's like Sergei Gonchar. Chubasov, like PK Subban, 1 year away, top 4 potential. There's also Alan Burns and Carson Clayson. However, we do not have their potentials fully uncovered. I mean, Carson Clayson, that's an awesome name, but still, I think I'd rather take someone who we fully have scouted. We'll also take a look at other potentials that are available in this draft. There's Garlock, who is a goaltender, of course, because when isn't there a medium elite goaltender available in the draft later in the draft? So what we're going to do here, we're just going to interview some of the players that are scout recommendations for near where we are picking. So Alan Burns, we don't have his full NHL ETA yet. Just going to look for players that we don't have the ETA on, because that is a question that I like to ask often. So we will interview Patrick Silverthorne here. So Patrick Silverthorne is a sniper. He is outspoken and 4 years away from the NHL. Now we will interview Alan Burns. He is a sniper as well. He is a consummate professional and is 2 years away from the NHL. And now we will interview Per Havlid here. He is supposed to also go in the 3rd round. So Per Havlid is a two-way forward. He is carefree and 4 years away from the NHL. So there you go. There are the draft interviews, and we will now put our defenseman on the trade block in Lankow, see what we could get for him. And as for our wants, we will just put on draft picks there as well, so that we can maximize flexibility for the computers. And we will now go into the draft. So we are picking 10th overall, and we'll see what happens in the top 5. Florida does want to trade their number 6 overall pick. So is there a player I'd be wanting to take at number 6? Probably not. Just given that all the medium elites will be gone by then, more than likely. So we will sim the next 5 picks. So Jacobson goes 1st overall and medium elite, 82 overall, power forward. He looks to be NHL ready this year. And he looks to be possibly the only NHL ready prospect out of this draft. So let's see, I believe all the medium elites were taken right there, and yes, indeed they were. So we are not going to trade for this pick. We will simply sim to our number 10. So here we have Chubasov, Holmstrom, Burns, Clayson, Gortz, Madano, Ludwig. And Chubasov has a very well-rounded personality and would mesh well in any locker room. Holmstrom is very passionate and gets emotional at times. He is driven to win. I do like that about Holmstrom. The fact that he's driven to win, that is a great personality to have in this game. But do I want him over Chubasov? Well, again, Chubasov is more NHL ready, but I like Holmstrom's personality better. So, you know what? We will go for Frederick Holmstrom here with this pick. Welcome to the New Jersey Devils. He is a 68 overall, and again, Chubasov probably will be a higher overall. As a matter of fact, he'll probably be a 74, 75 more than likely. But for me, Holmstrom was the more attractive pick with that personality. And now, simulating right up to round number 3, we could take that goaltender who's supposed to go in the 80s. I do like his personality, but he's 5 years away from the NHL. He's just one of those standard medium elite goaltenders you can find everywhere. So I would prefer to keep looking. And as we do have Caleb Wingels, who still needs to prove himself in the NHL. And we also have that high elite goaltender, Tristan Parks, who is hopefully up and coming here. So I think we'll just take a defenseman here, unless there's no good potentials left. Here we go. We have an offensive defenseman who's supposed to go 139, but he has that medium top 4 potential. He's 5 years away from the NHL, so he's going to take a long time, but I do love his personality. Very passionate person, gets emotional at times, and is driven to win. Strengths are his character, work ethic, and compete level. And he's an offensive defenseman, so it can't hurt to get another one of those in our system. Welcome to the New Jersey Devils. He is a 57 overall, medium top 4, and we are on to our next third-round pick. I would guess that goaltender's been taken by now, and it looks like he has been. So here we're going to take a stab at Brendan Gratton. He is supposed to go 90th overall. He has a 2-bar medium elite. We'll see what he is. Probably like a medium top 6, but still, can't hurt to try. Here we're going to be taking Derek Champion because I think you know why. Here we are going to be taking Gordy Robinson. He is a goaltender. However, if we take a look at his NHL ETA, it says he's only 1 year away from the NHL, and he's got the 2-bar medium elite, and he's got the A+ for reflexes with the 3-bar scouting. So he may be worth taking a shot on, so let's try it. Gordy Robinson, welcome to the New Jersey Devils. He is a 71 overall. That's a pretty high overall for a goaltender in the draft. So if his potential is actually, even if it's a medium starter, that's a pretty good pickup for the future. May as well take another goaltender here. Topi Hermy. He's really the only potentially good potential left at the 3-bar medium elite. He's 5 years away from the NHL, but you know what? Again, there's barely anybody left at this point in the draft, so we may as well take him. He's a 48 overall, as expected, with the 3-bar medium elite. And we will take, with our last pick, Akim Ferkner, the low top 4 defenseman. Welcome to the New Jersey Devils. He is a 49 overall. So Holmstrom, Mackey, Gratton, Champion, Robinson, Hermy, and Ferkner, welcome to the New Jersey Devils. So we have $6.5 million to work with in cap. So right off the bat, we are going to release Grubauer. Thank you for all the wins that you have brought us, and for the Vezina Trophy as well. That was a nice bonus, but it is time to move on from you. Our phase, we have Stahlberg and Karppinen. I will renew Karppinen because he can be the backup to Parks, but I do not want to take away any starting time from Parks, so we are going to be tendering Stahlberg and then just trading him away, or even just releasing him. So we will offer for Karppinen. We have no RFA defenseman. UFA defenseman, we have Bernard, Jacobs, White, Grelot, Schwinnard, and Chung. We will release Chung. We don't need him. He's a 7th defenseman potential. We don't need Schwinnard. I'll sign Bernard because he's 27, and he is a decent defenseman for the AHL. But I do want to release Jacobs and White. They're in their 30s now. I'd prefer to make some room for some prospects. Now, forward RFAs, we have Clark, Solani, and Pierce. And forward UFAs, we have Sissons, Zaka, Studenic, Zetterlund, Kovalchuk, and Leclerc. So we'll start with RFAs. Clark would be nice to have as some organizational depth, maybe for the playoffs. Pierce, I think we're going to release, given that we have Kovalchuk and Leclerc coming in. So Leclerc we will sign. He has a low elite potential. Kovalchuk we will sign as well. He is a low top 9 potential, but he's already a 67 overall. Zetterlund is a 77 overall. Studenic is a 77 overall as well. For right now, I'm going to release Studenic and Zetterlund. Zaka, as I said, I wouldn't be opposed to signing. He only wants $1.3 million, and he was solid on faceoffs for us last year. He was also pretty physical with 75 hits and only 801 of average ice time. So I definitely would not be opposed to giving him a contract here at $1.25 million for 1 year, and we will release Sissons. So I believe that is everybody, so we will simulate ahead one day. Actually, we do have to sign Mr. Mikhail Rositas, so we will also give him a contract right here. There's Rositas, and I believe everybody has signed except Bernard, so we will release him. And any RFAs who have not re-signed, nope. Stahlberg, we do still need to tender a qualifying offer to, but I believe everybody else, yep, we are set to go. So we will advance to the last day of the contract negotiations. We will tender Stahlberg, and then we will move on to July 1st. And good news, Jack Hughes does want to re-sign, so I think we may actually just get him out of the way right now. He only wants 8.9 for 2 years. I'm going to try to give him, oh geez, he wants quite the extension raise there. If we take him to 8 years, he wants $14.5 million. He might be worth it though. I mean, he did have a down season this year, but who didn't, to be fair? Besides, Anton Lundell. He actually did have a very good season, did Anton Lundell, but everybody else who produces offense for us, not really. So before going into free agency, we're going to take a look at what we have. We have Wingles and Parks as our goaltenders. We may have to look into getting a goaltender this year in free agency, especially if Wingles doesn't work out. And he's making $5.1 million now, so he's absolutely got to live up to that contract. And as for defensemen, you have Fabro, Slavin, Carlson, who's now down to an 84, unfortunately, Nurse, Severson, and Rositas, Frolov, and then Lankow, we're looking to trade currently. And we might actually have to trade Frolov as well, depending on what happens. But I do want to see Frolov's offseason jump. And then for forwards, you have Hughes, Hall, Heischer, Perlini, Boquist, Bratt, Kiiskinen, Lundell, Bykov, Twarynski, Zaka, Clark. That's 8 right here from Hughes to Lundell. 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we're definitely going to need a couple of forwards out of free agency. We might need a defenseman, especially if Carlson keeps dropping. But that'd be more of a trade situation, I think. And I think a goaltender might be more of a trade situation as well, unless there's like a 90 overall in free agency that we just can't ignore. And then, obviously we would have to move on from Wingles at that point. And I'd hate to release someone who we just signed, but if there's a really good goaltender out there, then we should definitely get him. And unfortunately, it looks like Nielsen is the only real goaltender out there who I'd be willing to shell out that much money for. And he is currently I believe he's with the New York Rangers, but he is currently signed to HV71, his European team. And everybody else out there, Grubauer, Brossoit, Skinner, no thank you. So I think we will go into next season with Caleb Wingles as our starter, but we definitely do need to get a solid backup for him, especially if things go south with him. And especially if we can't find a trade either for someone to replace him if he does, in fact, not live up to his contract. Then defensemen on the market, you have Jokiharju, you have Matheson, Hines, Pulak, Larson, Mata, Barry, Dunn, Klefbom, Petrangelo, Walsh, and at forward you have Sam Reinhart available. He wants a lot of money, though. We're not going to be able to afford that at all. Marchessault also wants a lot of money. Panarin's on the free agent market now. White, Kerfoot, Wilson, Thomas, Raquel, Saad, Dzingel. A lot of good forward free agents this year. But for me, what matters out of this free agency is that we're getting a forward who actually fits within the chemistry of our forward group, not just someone like Tom Wilson or Colin White, someone we know is gonna simulate well. But it needs to be someone who actually will fit into our lineup as well. So we have to take a look at the Pro Scout assessment for basically all of these forwards. I mean, it's at 3 bar for basically everybody, so we don't exactly know, unfortunately. So let's not just look at the overall and say, oh, we should sign that player. Like Reinhardt, for example, even if we were to sign him, it looks like he only fits in on forward line number 2. That's not exactly something you would want out of a 91 overall. If you're signing a player like this, you expect to play him on the first forward line, and he only fits in on forward line number 2 for this coach. Now, Jonathan Marchessault, even him, he would fit in on forward line 3 and penalty kill line 2. That is not where I'd be playing Marchessault. So even though he wants a lot of money, we can't afford him anyway. I won't be willing to get rid of the salary cap to get him. Now, Artemi Panarin, he's an interesting situation because he fits in on our top 6 forward lines. So both the first and the second line, all the power play lines, and the penalty kill. We won't exactly be using him on the penalty kill, but he does fit in on the penalty kill if we had to use him there. He's still a very good overall. He's still very much capable of producing offense at 35 years of age. But the only thing with Panarin is that he wants a lot of money compared to what we have left in 6.2 million cap space. Colin White, he only fits in on forward line 3. I'm going to say no to him. Kerfoot, he fits in on the top 6 forward lines, the power play line number 1, and all penalty kill lines. So maybe Kerfoot would be a pretty good addition, given that our penalty kill wasn't great last year, and neither was our power play, frankly. So maybe Kerfoot is someone we consider. Although if we do get Kerfoot, we are going to have to unload a little bit of salary. It wouldn't be too much, but we would have to unload a little bit of salary in order to offer him what he wants. And there's already a team that is interested in him, so we would definitely have to offer him, I'd say, somewhere around probably 7 mil, because he wants 6.6, right? And we can only offer him up to 6.2 at the moment. Wilson, he fits in on the top 6 and all penalty killing lines, so maybe Wilson is someone who we look to go after. But then again, if we're going after Kerfoot, we're definitely not going after Wilson, because it looks like we only have the budget for one of these guys here. There's Robert Thomas. He fits in on the first forward line and all penalty kill lines. I'm going to say no to him. I like Wilson and Kerfoot better. Carter Raquel, we have an exact scouting report on him, and he fits in on the top 6 forward lines, all power play lines, and all penalty kill lines. So that could be a pretty good signing, as he also only wants 4.1, so maybe Rickard Raquel is someone we consider going after. He didn't have the greatest season last year with Anaheim, it doesn't look like. He had 47 points, he was a minus 14, so maybe Anaheim was not that good. And let's take a look at his defense. He wasn't that great defensively. He's not going to be physical for you, but he does fit in on the top 6 forward lines, all the power play lines, and all the penalty kill lines. Brennan's side, we don't have an exact scouting report on him, and it's only a 2-bar scouting report, so I'm not going to trust that. I trust more of the 3-bar, 4-bar scouting reports, obviously, but the 2-bar, not so much. So we're going to pass on him. Ryan Dzingel will fit in our top 6 forward lines and all penalty killing lines, and he only wants $4.5 million as a 85 overall, 35 years of age. So maybe, once again, Ryan Dzingel is someone we consider going after. Mark Stone, he does not fit on any lines, so we will not be approaching Mark Stone. Cameron Hillis, he fits in only on the first line as an 84 overall. He did have 70 assists last season. Oh my goodness. he must have had, you know what that must have been? He must have had some incredible chemistry in Montreal, because his first 2 seasons, 34 and 35 points, then he jumps up to 79. That's not exactly sustainable. So I'm going to pass on Cameron Hillis. Like, there must have been some +5 line chemistry there in Montreal, and he's looking for $9.3 million. My goodness. Andrew Mangiapane, he fits in on our second forward line and our first power play line. Gabe Vilardi, he's got the second forward line and all penalty killing lines, but only 2-bar scouting report. Burakovsky fits in on our first line, our power play, and our penalty kill 2. Kasha fits in on the top 6 and all power play lines. Hayes fits in on the top 6 and all penalty killing lines. So maybe get Hayes as a defensive player for the top 6, especially since he only wants 2.6. That actually may be a pretty good signing. Dylan Dubé, maybe get him back. He only fits in on a 4-line 4. He's an 83 overall. He wants 3.5. I don't know if I want to pay a 4th line of 3.5. Dominic Simone, he fits in on the top 6 4 lines and also on the second line penalty kill. He is an 83 overall. He's got a good salary, but I think I might pass on him. Vinny Hinostroza, he wants quite a bit of salary. He wants 4.25 for an 83 overall, and he fits it on the second line and the penalty killing lines. If we're paying a guy that much as an 83 overall, and that'll be all the players that we look at for right now. So I'm going to end it off here. Let me know who we should sign going into July 1st, and I'll see you guys in the next one.